Presented by HammerHead and the Karoo 2, the only cycling computer with predictive path technology. Get yours at hammerhead.io.
Hey there, I am Jessica Alexander, and I am joined today with Janel Spilker. Welcome back, Janel, FloBikes Commentator, former professional racer. Janel, it's always a pleasure to see you.
Thanks for having me back, Jessica. I'm really excited to talk about bike racing again. It seems like ages since we got to last talk about Unbound Gravel.
Yeah, it's been a couple of months now, but we are full into the tour. It is starting this week. I personally will be staying low and working remote from Austin this year. Are you going to make any plans to make it out to France this year, or where are you going to be at?
I'm going to be for the first week of the men's tour, I'll be backpacking. So I will have absolutely no idea what's happening in the tour. And then for the last 2 weeks of the men's tour and for the women's tour in entirety, I will be tuning in from home in Bend, Oregon.
Well, that still sounds amazing, and obviously nice, cool weather where you're going to be. Maybe not so much for the tour this year as they get into those higher elevation areas. But yeah, let's just get into the show today. Tons of tour talk. Of course, we're going to wrap up Pro Nationals that happened this past weekend in Knoxville, Tennessee. Talking about the tour, our favorites and underdogs, since Janelle and I haven't had an opportunity to have that discussion yet. Our favorite Tour de France stages. And then we will close with a full segment about the Tour de France Femmes and our favorite riders, our underdogs, and our favorite stage. So Janelle, let's just get into it. This past weekend, we were FloBikes is at Knoxville, Tennessee for the Pro National USA Cycling Criterium Road and Time Trial Championships. And in the men's race, defending his title was Austin, Texas, native of Houston, Texas, Lawson Craddock. And Lawson Craddock definitely got a great challenge out there this year. He actually only was able to take the title by 3 seconds. And a lot of respect to second place, 22-year-old sensation, professional Ineos racer, Magnus Sheffield, just on his coattails there. So great job out there, Magnus. And then Project Echelon's George Simpson taking third place out there. On the women's side, Leah Thomas taking the title. This was incredible for her. She was going up against four-time U.S. TT national champion Amber Neven. And Amber, we've talked about her on the show before. She's mentioned in 2022, she's taking a step back from professional road racing and time trialing. And, we're not totally going to not see her anymore. She's going to be a participant in the Lifetime Grand Prix Series. But you've actually raced with her before, both of those women before. And I would love to kind of hear your experiences about those two women.
Yeah, well, you say that Amber is taking a step back from racing on the road. I don't think Amber Neben will ever take a step back from racing her TT bike. She has been to the Olympics 3 times, most recently just last summer. And while she is doing the Lifetime Grand Prix this year, I mean, she's definitely going to be. Although she got second to Leah Thomas, she'll be looking at Worlds for this fall. So I don't. She's just a champion. She is a bike racer at heart, and she brings a lot of love, energy, and commitment to how she races her bike. And TT is definitely her happy place. So. Speaking of happy places, happy to see Leah Thomas take the win this year. She has had a really challenging season. She had spinal surgery at the late winter, early spring, and for her to come back and in her, I knew she was racing again a little bit after her surgery, but in the first major race to be able to take the title is huge. So very happy for both of these women. And it's always great to see folks shining that I was towing the line with years ago.
Yeah, and another racer that I didn't really expect to see, but I should have known better is U23 sensation who took the U23 women's TT time trial, Zoe Ta Perez, who we haven't really spoken about before on Flow Bikes Weekly. She's only 20 years old, races for Lux Specialized. She actually took the bronze medal in the women's TT. but because the way USA Cycling has the TT Championships, they have the U23 women racing in the same field and same times as the overall women's championship. And so big congratulations to her. And if you don't know the name, get to knowing it. She was the 15 to 16-year-old junior national champion for time trials. She's won several titles in the junior track nationals in 2019. She took the rainbow jersey with Megan Jackstart at the junior worlds in the Madison a couple years ago. I mean, she is unstoppable. Like, this is somebody that we are going to start hearing a lot more of. And I can see, we talked about this last week, where the pro nationals are an opportunity for racers that are not on the big teams to get seen and potentially get an opportunity to get scouted, I guess, for a team next year, a bigger team. And so I could see somebody like Human Powered Health or even Live Racing taking her on next year. And so again, big congratulations to her.
Yeah, amazing to see that young talent, and the fact that she was third on the elite program podium, and then she was able to take other titles too in just this past weekend of U23, right? Crit and road for U23. So amazing. We'll keep our eyes on Zoe.
Absolutely. And then along with the rest of the crit racing, we're looking at Luke Lamperti defending his national champion Friday night under the lights. Great night out for bike racing. Hot, of course, per the normal in Knoxville, Tennessee this time of year, attacking on those final two corners up the Clinch Avenue climb, around the side. And he proved to everyone that that win was not a fluke. So here you see him coming in the final straightaway with such a big gap on everyone else. I mean, it was so apparent that he had strategy on his side. He had experience on his side. And it's great to see the young American pulling out another win. And again, the thing that's great about Luke is that he had no teammates. He's the only guy from Trinity Racing out of a 20-person British team to represent himself and keep that stars and stripes on. And on the women's side, a very similar situation played out. The women were able to, again, attack in that next to last corner, going up Clinch Avenue. And it was the Legion show, and Legion was able to dominate. So here you see him taking that final last climb up Clinch, making the way around. And I mean, it's so obvious that they have it in the bag. And here you see Kendall Ryan leading out herself, essentially, with Skylar Snyder, her teammate, in second, and Alexis Ryan, Kendall's sister, in third. And wow, what a great feeling it must be for these women to have each other's backs and to know they were also able to defend Kendall's jersey. Alexis getting to be on the team with Legion this year, and her sister, which I talked to them about at nationals. They felt so lucky to have the camaraderie and the sisterhood. And let us not forget, Sky Schneider has her sister, Samantha, as well on Legion. So, I mean, two sets of sisters. And then Shauna Paulus. It's an incredible team that they have put together. And big congratulations to them. Shout outs to Corinne Lebecki. She did take fourth there. You saw her kind of in that last turn, trying to make it on the inside, but unfortunately just the timing wasn't there.
Yeah.
And then on the road, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Corinne, similar to the men's champion in the crit, she was placed well throughout the race. She knew where to be. She was even on the tack a number of times, trying to take advantage or split up the Legion team. But man, Legion sweeping the podium, really, really executed the race well, but especially the last two laps. Hats off to them.
Yeah, it just shows that a plan goes into place and they're able to execute. Similar sentiments with the men's road race on Sunday. So we get to, right off the bat, attacks, and it's Human Powered Health's day. We see attacks from the gun. We see attack after attack after attack in this men's race. And, what was so special about this race is that, Joey Roscoff wasn't able to defend his jersey, and he wasn't able, because of COVID, and he wasn't able to keep the jersey on himself. But then teammate Kyle Murphy with the lead out was able to take that win. And you can see here that same climb from Clinch Avenue, he was able to have the upper hand going into the corner and hold everyone else off. And, it was something to note that with like 3 kilometers remaining, that he did have those teammates that were able to help him out. But right around half a mile to go, and I have a clip of this as well. Magnus Sheffield is leading the bunch sprint, which is what, arguably is what Kyle Murphy had such a big lead. We're like, okay, the sprint's going to be for second and third here. And you can kind of see here, Magnus is looking back. People are on his wheel. And, he just waited. They waited too late. He waited too late. Maybe they were expecting him to lead him out. And here you see everybody going around him. And this ends up being a bunch sprint for second and third. And we end up seeing Tyler Seitz taking second. Magnus, unfortunately, took third. Hey, still a great opportunity, though, for the youngster, especially coming off his other second place in the time trial. And so, it was a great race, and it was tactically a very smart race for Human Powered Health. And it was just great to see them initiate and stay true to their different attacks throughout the entire race. And then on the women's side, we also saw some team tactics play into place. So the women only raced for 10 laps of the circuit, and with 6 laps to go, EF's Emma Longley made a move, and Skylar Schneider jumped in with her. But here we go. We're going to just jump to the end, and we've got Lauren De Crescendo on the back wheel to Emma. They were playing cat and mouse, staying together with each other, and then Emma was able to just sweep around Lauren, take that climb up of clinch, attack at that right spot, and seal the deal here. And so, again, important to know, knowing those last 3 corners, this is something that every athlete that has done this course or has studied this course knows that's where the race is won. And Emma's even had been quoted as saying that she watched the criterium on Friday night. She saw Skylar and Kendall and Alexis racing to understand how the crit would play out, so she can know what types of tactics to use in that final corner and ultimately to seal the win on that race.
Yeah, you have to know where to go. And now that we've been on this course for multiple years, it seems like everybody knows where to go. The other thing that Emma had playing to her advantage was that she knew that last year's champion and teammate Lauren Stevens was behind in chasing. And so going into the last few miles, Emma didn't have to take a pull. She was able to sit on Lauren DeCrescenzo's wheel and then wait to make that defining move. So great tactics by the team there.
Yeah. And again, congratulations to all of our national champions. And we are looking forward to seeing all those rainbow jerseys, or the Stars and Stripes jerseys out there in the field the next upcoming year. All right, let's get into Tour Talk. We are here. It is this week. We are kicking off Friday with a time trial in Denmark. There's going to be a lot happening. We're just going to jump right in with our favorites, because you and I haven't talked about that yet. And I don't even think I really shared mine. No big surprises here, Janel. Like, I'm going to have to go with our overall pick for the win is going to be Tadej Pogačar. And he's young, he's won twice, he's got his strong team behind him. I mean, he's got George Bennett, Mark Solar, Mark Hershey, American Brandon McNulty. I mean, UAE, stacked field. He is a top athlete in the sport right now, and bar none, barring any injuries, crashes, he's going to be the man. And so I don't even want to contest that, but I'll just throw another favorite out there because, we can do hot takes on this show. Primoz Roglic, I think that's kind of the other obvious choice. He can, and he has taken on Tadej and done a great job at that. He's got, honestly, the real reason why I throw him out there is he's got Jumbo-Visma, his powerhouse team behind him. And they have dominated the Spring Classic seasons, as we've talked about. Tiesj Benoot, Steven Kruijswijk, Sepp Kuss, Christophe Laporte, Jonas Finigo. And let's just not forget, wow, this is like the all-star team, and I just get excited even talking about the team. But the thing with Primoz, and the reason why I don't put him as my first pick, is he tends to have a lot of crash energy near him, right? So, last year in stage 3 of the Tour de France, where we saw a ton of crashes that took him out. There we go. We see him going down stage 3, and he ended up having to abandon the Tour after stage 8. But that was also a stage where Geraint Thomas went down, his teammate, Steven Kruijswijk. And so bad luck, tough course, tough stage with crosswinds. Yes, I could say that. But also he crashed in the 2021 Vuelta, and he's got some knee pains that he said affected him at the Tour de Basque Country a couple weeks ago. And so, I have a hard time putting him there as my favorite. So, maybe you've
Well,
got some better picks. Who do you say
well,
you've got lined up?
you've taken the favorites, no doubt there. But I am also very excited about Jumbo Visma. The team is stacked and has a lot of cards to play. I'm also excited to watch Thomas Pidcock race. I mean, he's not my GC contender. He's no one's GC contender. But goodness gracious, he's another one of these riders that can do anything. I have been really enjoying watching him race on the mountain bike scene over the last 2 seasons. And if he's recovered from his recent bout with COVID, it'll be exciting to see what he can do with the Ineos team.
Yeah, and I think people do kind of forget him, right? Like but how can you? He won Cyclocross Worlds. We all saw that. He did kind of a hat trick of winning the juniors and winning the U23, and now the rainbow jersey at the world level. And so, yes, he can do it all. I am very excited to see him. He would probably go more as my underdog, but I'll give you my underdogs regardless. I'm going to have to go for my first one with EF's Nielsen Palace, and he is a man who is embarking on his third Tour de France. He has been a supporting role on the EF team, so he has breakaway skills, and we really got to see this last week because in the Tour de Suisse there's the breakout of COVID, and he lost all but one other teammate, and so he basically ended up essentially riding for himself, and so he had a rare opportunity to go for the GC, and you know what, he did, and he took fourth overall, his best professional performance. I mean, this is a man that, okay, we may not see him get on the podium this year, but I could see him in the top 10, and I can see him trying to go for a stage win on the GC if he has an opportunity. And so somebody that I'm really excited to see race. And of course, anytime we get to talk about Americans, that's a great thing. I love it so much. My other one, Jonas Finigo, who we've also mentioned already, teammates with Roglic, and someone who has done really well. Obviously, he's finished right behind Tadej in the Tour de France. The Danish guy, he's back in his great form. Like, he is ready to kick off the Tour in his home country. So he's got that support of his countrymen. He gets to see his friends and family. He was second in the GC behind Roglic at the Criterium de Dauphiné a few weeks ago. And so, again, is he gonna win the Tour? There's maybe a conflict of interest there, but it's so exciting to see the young guy race, and I really see him in arguably the podium spots again this year.
Well, beyond Tom Pidcock, I don't have an underdog. However, I am excited to see the race for the green jersey. It'll be awesome to see Peter Sagan and what he can do. If he can take home the green jersey this year, I think that would be very exciting for all of his adoring fans.
And of course, tons of wheelies, right?
Yes, all of the finish line celebrations, please.
Yes. All right, let's talk about our favorite stages that we're looking forward to. And let's remember, 21 stages, a majority of the month of July, we're riding through Denmark, Switzerland, Belgium, and France this year. So there is a big spread, lots of long transfers in this year's Tour. I mentioned these stages a little bit last week, and we didn't really dive in, and you and I didn't get to talk about it, but I'm going to go for this. The first stage I'm looking forward to the most being Liège to Arenberg Porte de la Inu, which is what they're kind of naming the mini Hell of the North. And so you're getting to see all of the cobbles. And granted, the last time we had cobbles in the Tour de France was 2018. 20 kilometers of cobbles in this year's stage 5 sectors that have never been used in the Paris-Roubaix. 7 3-star sectors, 2 4-star sectors. There's 3 sectors, Janel, in the last 30 kilometers that are 2.4 kilometers each, which are very, very long. I am very excited to see a lot of our classics riders throw down on here. I can see Casper Asgreen and Stephen Kuhn going for a stage win here, but expect the stage to absolutely shatter riders, and of course what we come to know, crashes and the drama that comes with the cobbles, especially when you take a peloton of roughly 175 riders, and so early in the race still. I mean, they're coming off of their rest day on July 4th, so we'll kind of see what happens. But my other favorite, Oh, is that yours?
You stole one of mine, but since I'm going to be, out of cell service and backpacking during that stage, my first pick it was for me, it's toss up between stage 9, where we see our first back-to-back category 1 climbs, and stage 11. So I'll go with stage 11 for my first exciting day. This is the first appearance of 2 HC climbs. I think that we will really see the GC contenders have to play their cards on a day like this. The Col de Galabier is in there, and then it finishes on a climb that I'm less familiar with, but the Col de Granon. And, a mountaintop finish is always a fave.
Mountaintop finishes are always, to me, I think, some of the most exciting stages too, because with the sprint stages, roughly who's going to be out front. There aren't a lot of surprises, but with our mountain stages, we really get to see like the grit and the heart of the race. And my other pick is stage 12, which I mentioned last week, but Brissillon to Alpe d'Huez. This is it. This is the big one. The 21 hairpin iconic turns. The Dutch corner, which Craig Brown said he's gonna drink a beer for me, and I'll just pretend I'm there, like living vicariously through him. But yeah, it's absolutely a party out there on the Alpe d'Huez, and this is a replay of 1986's stage. Takes in those similar climbs, the other side of the Gilloir, the Telegraph, and the Croix de la Fée, which is the summit, and that is the highest vertical gain in stage 12, which is 4,700 meters. So they're going to have a vertical gain, or for, us Americans, 15,000 feet of climbing. And I can't tell you how much I'm excited to see this. And not only that, the French are going to be excited to see it. It's French Bastille Day, and, Romain Bardet, Thibaut Pinot. These are racers that are going to put it all out there to attempt to get a stage win for France. But, again, all the GC favorites, right? We're going to have Pogačar out there, Roglic, Finigo, Vlasov, and even Adam Yates I could see trying to go for the stage win. And so this is going to be a good one. Everyone buckle up for the party, and we'll definitely see y'all there. FloBikes will be showing the Tour de France in Canada live and on demand the 1st through the 24th. All right, Janelle. We have one other race in the month of July, and it is, in my opinion, probably the most important race of the year, because this one hasn't happened yet. And it is a historical moment for women's cycling and just for women's sport in general. But we are talking about the Tour de France Femmes, and we are looking at a entire, 8 days of racing for the women, July 24th through the 31st. And so the women will be actually racing the same day that the men finish. And we need to remember that this is not going to be our first women's tour, right? We've had women's racing in the past at the Tour de France level, with the Tour Féminine initially being held in July 1984, which wasn't held for amateur racers. I found that was kind of interesting. And this is a race that they had starting before the men's races, but ending where the men's races finished that year, and a portion of the men's race. So anywhere from 50 kilometers to 75 kilometers, so much shorter and abridged, which kind of made it to where the women over 18 stages in 84 raced 1,000 kilometers versus what the men race is 4,000 kilometers. And so a significantly abridged version of the men's race. And the winner of the race that year was an American by the name of Marianne Martin. And I've actually spoke to her a few times, and I was kind of hoping, and maybe still, that I'll be able to grab her sometime during the tour, maybe even after, to get some of her insight on, seeing a tour back to all of its caliber and pomp and circumstance, because, we didn't see anything after. They had 6 years of the Feminine Tour, and then in 2014, a woman by the name cyclist Catherine Bertine worked really hard to push for more women's racing, and that enabled us to get to La Course by Tour de France, which hasn't really had the same spectacle, right? We're looking at kind of a one-day thing, very, very abridged. And so it's, to me and to everyone, really, we should all just be so excited to see 8 full days of racing for the women this year.
Jessica, I got to race La Course on the Champs-Élysées in 2014. And I was racing for Optum at the time, now Human Powered Health. And we got a rider on the podium in that race, but it was a one-day race on the Champs-Élysées. So yes, this is what we've been waiting for. This is what we've been fighting for. And I'm so excited to see how these women race.
Yeah, and so let's give it the proper respect that it deserves, and let's do our favorite and underdog and our favorite stage as well. This one's a little harder. There's so many women at the top of their sport, but someone who I've been watching for years and I've looked up to as a cyclist, but Annemiek van Vleuten, Dutch rider, currently riding for Movistar. I mean, she, like, her accolades, I don't even need to read them all, but for those of you that may not be super familiar with the women of the World Tour, I mean, she's won the World Tour Cup back in 2011, and she's still racing. She was the UCI 2018 World Tour winner. She's won the time trial in 2017 and 18 at the world level, so she has 2 rainbow jerseys just there. She's won the Giro Rosa, and she has also won the La Course, and she's done it all. She's done the Olympics, winning the gold medal there in Tokyo for the time trial, and then kicking silver in the road race. And so she has so many strong accolades that, and a strong team behind her. I have no doubt that I think she's going to do some solid things out there.
Yeah, it's amazing you mentioned her winning the World Cup title in 2011. And when I was racing against her then, we all thought of her as a bunch sprinter. But since she has turned herself into the most dominant climber and time trialist in the peloton, which makes her really hard to beat in staged races. But someone I have my eye on is a woman who is going to be sitting out the Giro Rosa to focus on the Tour de Femmes, and that's Demi Vollering from SD Works. She's a rider who I think, based on this course, can be very aggressive. She has a very strong team around her. She's been doing some altitude training, and she can climb. So I'll be looking. She's kind of an underdog, but if I can't pick Annemiek, I'm going to be watching Demi Vollering during this race.
I'm going to say who my underdog is, and then I'm going to retract it and say that I'm taking your favorite / underdog pick, because I think it's not paying justice to Elisa Longo Borghini to call her an underdog. She's riding currently for Trek Segafredo. I mean, she's won 2 races. 2 bronze medals in the Summer Olympics. She's finished 3rd at Rio, and in Tokyo, she's won the bronze at Worlds in 2012 and 2020. So she's also been racing for a long time. I really put her on the same level as Annemiek. So I'm, listen, they can fight it out for favorite. And I also am going to have to go with Demi then as my underdog, because, she's young. She's got a team that they didn't really have, like, a team leader going into the 2022 season. And all the women have said that, right? They're like, I don't really know what I'm doing. But then they've got Anna van der Breggen in the team director position in the team car, helping these women get direction for how to win a race and how to play tactically safe. And you're seeing this play out, and you're seeing Demi in the right moves and constantly up there in the front, battling for first or second. And so, I'm going to say, let's go with that one.
Lamborghini is always a fantastic pick. I support you in that one.
All right. Very good. And then finally, our favorite stage of the women's tour. And, this is not, I think I mentioned this one last week, but again, you and I haven't talked about it. This one is the last stage of the women's tour this year, stage 8, which is going to be L'Heure to les Superplanches des Belles. Same stage that the men are doing for stage 7, except instead of the women doing the additional 50 kilometers before the climb, the women just get to do 123 kilometers of climbing, which in my opinion, I think makes it a harder course. Because, I mean, you just start in the climb and there's no warm up. There's no jockeying for position. It's like, okay, here we go. Let's put our heads down. And I think you mentioned off air, you've raced this stage before, correct?
Yes, so back when there was a race called La Route de France, a 10-day women's stage race in 2012, 2013, the race finished on La Planche de Belleville. I was riding for the U.S. national team at this race. We had the jersey going into it. I can remember being in a break, and I looked at the course map, very similar. So there's a couple of climbs on the approach, but then you finish off with this beast of a climb. And the day before the race, I asked the team mechanic to switch my my rear cassette and rear derailleur into a wider cage so I could have a huge cassette. And I spun up that thing and was very thankful for it because it is a very steep, not long, 8 kilometers, but a very steep and pitchy climb. So a great way to end the women's tour. Can I mention one stage that I'm also excited about, since La Planche de Belleville is definitely my favorite stage, but one other one of interest is stage 4. It's a 126 kilometer stage in the Champagne region, and it'll be their second day in that region of France. But there are these white roads that go through the winery region, and apparently the climbs are steep, and anytime you're off pavement in a road race, I get pretty excited, and there's always a lot of energy and jockeying for position to be in the right place at the front for those short climbs and the different conditions. So I'm excited to see stage 4 as well.
Well, all of the stages are going to be great and much of a surprise, as well as something new for the riders. But Janel, I know you're not going to be there. I'm not going to be there. We're going to be there in spirit. And a reminder to all of our fans, we are going to be taking the month of July off from FloBikes Weekly because we'll be moving to the Tour de France Daily Show with Gregor Brown and Brent Bullcoulter. So look for that on the daily from FloBikes. But in the interim, you know what? We're going to enjoy watching. You and I will have to have a chat bubble going to keep up on the races as they happen once you get back from bikepacking. And everybody else that's still listening, stick around. We've got a short little video from the women's race stage, the La Planche de Belleville, with live racers Valerie Demi and Sabrina Stultins. So it's so good to see you again. I am so happy that you are getting to enjoy your summer and le vive le tour.
Can you make a clap with your hands? This one.
Oh,
Label.
we can do it with the feet too.
On y va, Sabrina?
Oui, on y va. It's very beautiful here.
Yeah. Champagne. A lot of riders can do this. You see the climbers there, but also some classic type of riders. So yeah, I think both. So a lot of can handle this.
Now you can look where you ride, but in a bunch you can't choose where you ride. So we'll make it extra. Plus the speed will be also higher.
Now we can enjoy it over here, and then next year it's like full gas.
Like this.
Yeah.
I think if you have a little bit experience with cyclocross, you have an advantage if it's more slippery.
I can't wait to be in the race and to get that feeling also.
I'm happy the Tour de France is on our calendar now.
What did you think of my wheelie?
10 on 10.